It's Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. So today's should be a pretty quick video, but I just wanted to show off the latest addition to my tools collection, which is this really small, super simple, basic marking gauge. Now, marking gauges, there's modern versions, there's much fancier versions, there's homemade versions, but this is the one that I picked up quite cheap. And I want to say thank you to Fergus from Fergus's Vintage Tools, who sold me this one at a quite affordable price. But what a marking gauge is it's a way to add reference lines for your cuts, for your measurements, for mortising, for joinery, and so on and so forth. It usually will have a flat reference surface, and then it's going to have a pin or a knife or an edge that will allow you to score and mark the surface. Now this is much more simple and traditional because it uses a wedge as the holding mechanism, whereas some different varieties will typically have like a screw type of arrangement which will tighten and clamp the actual bar to the body, to the reference surface. So this one's a really simple construction because this slides and the wedge itself is slightly angled, so if I push it this way, that wedge will tighten it up by pushing downwards and locks in the actual arm against the body itself. And then of course to release it, I push it the other way and it should move freely. And you'll see that there's a lot of history around it because the wear and tear will show you how much and what kind of position it got used in a lot. So over on this end where it's really shiny, it hasn't really had much juice to go all the way out there. And of course, if you want to take it apart to clean it, to wax it, oil it, surface it, whatever, you would just slide that out. And then this key, this wedge comes out just like that. So yeah, this is really, really nice, super simple. It's quite light. I don't know how old it is, but it's well made. There's no maker's mark or anything of that nature that I can see here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a quick scrub just with a plastic brush. I don't want to use the steel or the wire on that. And then I'm going to give it a new coat with my wax paste. We'll put it back together. We'll actually sharpen this slightly as well. I can feel it's got an edge to it, but it is a little bit rusty. So we'll give it a touch up with the diamond paddles. And then we'll do some scoring on some scraps that I've got here. So just a really simple cleanup should do it well. I don't want to be too aggressive with something like the actual wire and scratch this up too much. Taking note, of course, that you know, we've got a bit of metal over here too, so I don't want to end up vibrating that too heavily. And the wax paste itself, once I apply it, will also act as a bit of a cleaner. The oil will help lift and dissolve some of the grime on it. So that should just be really simple to clean it up. And then this, however old this is, the style of it is certainly old, will now have a new life with me. And hopefully I'll get to enjoy it and you know, make use of it for many more years to come. So there's some dents in the end of this, but probably a bit dirtier. Now I didn't really want to use a damp cloth or anything like that. I just didn't want this wood because it's so dry with its age, it's potentially just going to suck up that moisture. I'd rather it actually suck up the wax paste more than any actual moisture. I could use something like mineral oil as well with it, but I think the wax paste is probably going to do it just fine. So we're going to apply it quite generously, quite liberally around that, around on the sides. The inside I'm not going to be too worried about if I can't get in there with my fingers, because once that goes into it and it's got some on it, we'll be able to also apply that inside for me. So there you go, get it rubbed all over, and then with my waxing cloth. I'm going to start buffing that in, warming it up, letting this really lovely dark timber, whether it's naturally dark or if it's just had stain on it in the past, I honestly don't know, but it doesn't really matter. It's going to suck it up, hopefully, and yeah, give it a really great gloss to it. Oh, look at that. That's come up really nice. Heating that up from rubbing it. Of course, we're going to let that sort of just sit and absorb it, and then we'll probably come back tomorrow maybe and give it some more. Although I might run out very shortly. But that is looking really great right now. Okay, so I'm going to thread a bit of this through as well. Come on, you can do it. There we go. And I'll be able to apply it this way as well. Give it a bit of a cleaning inside. Just like that. Alright, still a little bit dusty inside there in the middle, but I'm okay with that. That shouldn't be too much of an issue because we are going to apply some to this. Be careful not to cut myself on the pin. And go around it, up to it. And then, of course, we'll try and buff it in. Like that. Okay, I'll set that there for now. I'll get a little bit onto the key, whatever this thing's called, the wedge, key, something like that. We'll give that a good rub down as well. I do like the fact that this is actually cut from a different kind of timber. The color of that, the contrast of it is really nice. A little bit unusual, I suppose, maybe. Could be a replacement one from the original. Don't know, hard to say, but it fits well. It doesn't have a huge amount of wear and tear on it, which is good, because over time, if you were to use this a lot, you could expect that a shouldering might have formed on this as it's wearing into it, depending on whichever one is harder. But this one seems like it's survived just fine, which is great. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put some, so the reference surface was this one, and it was sitting in that way. It was that way, I believe. Maybe. Is there one way or the other that's a bit better? I think it was this way. The key was actually up the top there, and that was facing down. So we're going to put some anyway on both sides, just generously like that. And that will allow me to do this and just get that working inside it on both sides, like that, to really try and get that in to the middle there. and that'll just help kind of rub that in to the middle. And then of course get my fingers really nice and deep inside that as well. Okay. All right. I didn't really think it was going to turn out this dark, actually, from looking at it. I thought it might be slightly lighter, but that it's a really gorgeous color. Love the fact that we can give this a new life rather than it turning into scrap somewhere. There's something about the simple elegance of these kinds of tools. Now you can get really fancy ones with like brass inlay and stuff like that, but you know, with those ones you have to have other kind of maintenance that you need to do on it. You'd have to clean it so that the patina on it, well I suppose you just leave the patina on it, wouldn't really matter too much. Okay, so now we're just going to go and sharpen this as well. My hands are very obviously covered right now in wax paste, so maybe just use a different piece of rag to scrub some of that off. Just so I don't contaminate my paddles too badly. And I think the medium will be more than adequate. Now it's already got an angle on it, so we just want to kind of do the same if we can on that. We don't really want to go too crazy. So I can see it starting to shine up a bit. So we're taking that sort of rust off it. Of course, it's probably going to re-rust anyway in a very short period of time if it's just straight up iron or steel. That's okay, because I can come in with this, take off that residue, and then just coat it a bit with the actual wax paste, and that gives me a really nice edge on that. All right, so let's reassemble it and let's try marking some lines. So we want it face down with the key away. We're going to put the key back in that way, and then we can slide that in. Fantastic. So let's say we want to mark a thickness. So this right now is a thickness of just over 1 centimeter. And we want to do a 1 centimeter thickness on it. So we're going to go, how do we do this? This way. We can do that. Actually, that's not a very good one, simply because I can't see it with the end of the square. This one might be a bit better. There we go. So we're going to take that to 1 centimeter. There we go, like that. And then, well, I should probably bump that a little bit, and then I can tap it. Oh, see, this takes practice to get used to doing. Obviously, I've never had to work with one of these before. My might have made it too tight now and it's not going in, but now it's loosened up a lot. Okay. About 9.5. And now we're over. Practice, 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 practice. Okay, so we're at 11 mil. The whole thing's gone in. Oh. All right, I must not let my frustration get to me. How about we hold it in position and then we push that in. All right. Okay, so we're gonna lock that in, and I just felt that move again. No, that was good. Actually, it's still on 1 centimeter, close enough to it that I can really push that in firmly. All right, we've got our 1 centimeter marked. We got there in the end. Okay, so now we need to have a reference surface. This top surface is nice and smooth. This top surface is not very smooth. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this one as our reference surface, because then I can take and cut from that surface. I can plane away this surface to smooth it out to match that one. So we're just going to brace it against there. We're going to hopefully be able to put it against there and draw out my line. And I should be able to go in both directions. It shouldn't really matter. As long as, of course, my pin is straight in both directions. So there you go. There's a line there. And we should be able to take my pencil and just follow that. Although, of course, if I'm not very good at that, there we go. Just following the groove of that, there is the thickness that I've marked. Now, is that actually the same all the way across? That the width of this is cutting it? Yeah, it seems to be good. All right. Of course, that makes the assumption that this is flat, and it looks pretty flat to me. So what I can do with that is I can go around the rest as well. So I can go around this way, and then I can go around this way, just like that, and I can go around this way. Obviously that end grain's pretty rough because I haven't treated that with any planing activities. And okay, so there's a bit of deviation there where I've got two lines now, but obviously that's just down to my experience or lack of experience in using this marking gauge. Maybe applying too much force and not being able to get a good contact reference there. But you can kind of see that I do have some lines. This is really rough to trace because of that end edge there. But now I've got 1 centimeter all the way marked out thanks to this little guy. All right, well, I'm obviously going to need a lot more practice using it. And of course you can use that to draw, you know, top surface lines as well, right? So I've just gone and marked a 1 centimeter line with this. Of course, if I went around like this, I might be pressing it too hard and it's catching and skipping and everything. But doing that, I've got a line marked there, and then I've got a line that my pencil's trying to groove into. Could be too narrow for it. Yeah, it's not really deep enough that it's sitting in it, but it's almost like trying to trace a line because it's so light that, you know, I've got 1 centimeter all the way around that if I wanted to mark a boundary, for example. So yeah, I'm obviously going to have to practice with this and work with it. I think the actual cutter might be at a slight angle, but I can try and straighten that up. I do obviously have plenty of the pin there that I can tap to drive it a little bit more through if I needed to, and I guess technically I could replace that eventually. Pull that out and, you know, put a nail or something through it with maybe a little bit of wood glue to hold it in place. So there you go, an unmarked, unbranded, very simple, nice little marking gauge. So now that I've got that depth in it, I can work on it to plane it down, reduce it to a certain thickness, and yeah, use it for something. All right, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed having a look at that and my latest addition to the toolkit. Yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.